Hey, Editor Chris here. I need to apologize. Before we get into this episode, my mic cuts out for like a split second throughout this episode a few times, and I apologize. I wasn't able to recover the audio. I don't think it impacts the episode in any way, but if you hear me drop out and come back in, that's what happened. I tried something different with my setup, and I shouldn't have done it. I know better. I apologize. Now, on to the episode.
Welcome to Comfort Zone, a podcast all about pushing your hosts, outside of their comfort zone. I'm Christopher Lawley, and each week I am joined by two incredible co-hosts. As always, I am joined by the rambunctious Matt Birchler. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Last week I accidentally leaked an app, and then I just decided to say screw it and released it. So we'll see what happens this week.
And that's why you're being called. Wow, I cannot speak. Rambunctious. But we are also joined by the rascally Niléane. Niléane, how are you?
I'm doing well. As you can see if you're watching the video, I'm in a white void because we're moving soon. So I started taking down things on the wall, and the apartment is a mess.
I thought you were entering your Jony Ive era.
Yeah, no.
Just pure white room.
Oh
Just
yeah,
shave
that
your
guy
head from
on
the time and
just like that guy on YouTube who made a all-white studio and called it an Apple store.
Anyways, we have tiny topics to go over. Somebody take the microphone away from me.
Okay. Yeah, I put in something nice. When this episode comes out, it will have been almost close, at least, to the 1 month anniversary of me launching Tiny Start. Yeah, and it's been doing very well. Like, I foresaw like 10 people buying it, and it would be fine. I would be like, yeah, I was glad I did that, and then move on. But no, it's more like a few hundreds, thousands people bought it.
Whoa.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
this is insane. Which means like when you start to get a critical number of people using your app, they find all sorts of weird things that that are impossible to find that you can never reproduce. So right now, I'm taking for the first few days, I released a bunch of updates in a row because I already had planned a bunch of things to add to the app after it initially went out, to the 1.0 went out. But now, like, I'm taking my time. I'm just taking all my time to just fix the obscure bugs that people have found and add some new things that people are suggesting. For example, the next release I'm going to release probably next week or so. Somebody suggested that Tiny Start, it should not clear the search field when immediately, so that, for example, if you're doing the calculations in there, you're doing 2 plus 2 and jumping back and forth between Tiny Start and a document to fill in the results. Maybe you want the previous calculation to persist in Tiny Start. So I've added that. So now there's a setting so you can say, hey, keep the previous query for 30 seconds before clearing it.
Nice.
So yeah, anyway.
That's cool.
Yeah, this is good. I'm happy. I assume people listening to the show are among people who try the app. And thank you for the feedback. It's been great.
Nice. And if you haven't tried the app, what are you doing? It's great.
Yeah, for the fourth week in a row.
It's just a launcher.
It's very good.
Matt did a video on it. I swear my video on it is coming out soon. If it's not out by the time this episode is out, something horrible has gone wrong.
Yeah.
So it should, by the time this episode comes out, it should be out by then.
Something horrible has gone wrong, is what you said.
Yeah. If it's not out by then, come and check on me.
Okay.
But yeah. Anyways, we have some exciting news. So not the next episode, but the episode after that will be episode 100 of Comfort Zone. Which, yeah, that's pretty exciting.
Let
100
me do
episodes.
the reaction thing Where's the? There you go. Fireworks.
There you go. Yes, fireworks. So we're kind of brainstorming a few ideas, but one of the ideas we had for that episode is let's get some questions. So in the description or show notes or whatever it's called, I get YouTube brained and I mix them up. Sorry. But in the show notes, there is the link to a feedback form. Send in your questions, title it episode 100 question or something like that, just first line or something like that, and ask us anything you want. It could be a follow-up to a challenge or a topic, something you want to know, something you want us to talk about, whatever. You know, if you want to know
Especially politics, we want.
or maybe my red sauce recipe. Maybe you want my red sauce recipe. My red sauce recipe is amazing, which I actually can't give you the recipe because it's a free flowing idea that just, you know, it evolves. It's like jazz. My red sauce recipe is jazz. I thought I thought
you were going to say it was like Claude Mythos. It's too dangerous to give to the general public.
Ooh. It is. It is dangerous. It's spicy. That's a spicy meatball. Anyways, send in your questions for episode 100. We might have some other stuff for that, or we might not. I don't know. We're figuring it out as we go along. It's what we do best here.
It's what we've done since day one.
Yeah, exactly. And this would be normally the part of the show where I would say, and this week on Cozy Zone, we did something, but we actually recorded the episode of Cozy Zone that would already be out time you're listening to this because we're recording that in a couple of days. I don't know. We're going to do something for that episode. I don't know what it is yet, but Cozy Zone is our members only show, and if you like us, maybe check it out. It's a whole extra episode of us every single week. It really helps out produce the show, and you know, we appreciate it. Nice. But anyways, we should get into the main show, unless there's anything else.
Just one thing. You recorded without me last week. And I have still not listened to I haven't had time. And I do hope that it was okay. Like, I'm feeling for the listeners. I hope that
oh my God,
you were able to get through this.
The listeners love me and Matt. Well, like we talked about the MacBook Neo. We had a combined topic.
Oh, I did do one
Neo.
thing to catch up. I looked at so you did home screens or something like this? And I clicked the home screen links in the show notes.
Of course you did.
I had to.
Well, remember that.
And she zoomed and she...
and I zoomed all the way in.
Yep. To the very pixel. She to the pixel. No, the challenge that week was to just have 3 app icons in your dock. And that's why our home screens were in the show notes.
My one comment is that, Chris, I don't think there's enough exclamation marks on your to-dos.
Well, how many exclamation marks were there? Or badges?
No, like in your fantastical to-dos.
Oh, that's because I use the priority tags in Todoist. That's what that is. So I use the priority tags to
this is what
sort.
It looks like?
Yeah, so if you in Todoist, what you can do is you can set priority tags, and what I use that for is to basically make a list. So when I open my task manager, I just work top to bottom. I don't jump around. I don't do any of that stuff because it sorts via priority. So I just work top to bottom. So that's why they're there on the. I wish I could get rid of the exclamation marks in the Fantastical widget, but you can't. But that's why they're there.
Okay.
All right. Let's get into the main show because I'm very excited about both of your topics. But Matt is first up. What do you got for us?
Well, there was a moment you may have noticed in last week's episode where I stopped in my tracks and I was like, oh no, there's something in my screenshot that shouldn't be in my screenshot. And I'll say, for video listeners, I'm holding up my iPhone now. I still have 3 apps in the dock. I'm actually still holding on to it. I am so lazy. I don't have time to add the 4th app back. But the app that caused the issue was this purple one right here called Quick Reads, which is a read later service, which I've been working on since January, which is the longest I've worked on an app before launching. I mean, honestly, it's not that long in the grand scheme of things, but for me, it was quite a while. And I released it last week, and it's going quite well. Just like Niléane said, once you get people using your app, you realize all the weird ways they use their computers, the weird ways they interact with software that make you go, huh, I never would have thought of that, but I guess I need to account for it. So, yes, currently in the fix whatever issues come up, although there haven't been that many issues, which is great. Yeah, it's going pretty well. I posted the night of that there were 1 million words saved to the service. We're up to 1.4 million now as we record on Friday the next day. So it hasn't, two things have happened. It hasn't gone down. The service hasn't broken. This is good. Payments are working. And I guess the third thing is I'm closely monitoring all of my costs for this because it ain't free to serve a website like this. And it has not exploded. I was afraid it would explode in cost once people are actually using it, but it's generally around what I thought it would be.
Is that the icon in your menu bar? The train icon?
The train icon, yes. That is,
Yes.
I'm hosting it. Yes, they have an API for you to monitor your cost in real time. So every 30 minutes, I see it tick up a little bit. And I'm worried about the day where it goes from like, you have spent $5 so far. And then 30 minutes later, it's like, you have spent $700. I would have to shut something down very quickly.
But maybe that will be a good day. It will mean you will have
Yes, you're right.
surged in some audience.
I should check my payments first. And if those have not spiked as well, then I need to shut something down. But yeah, so I don't want to talk about the whole thing. But in general, I want to say what it is and what it isn't, because it's not for everybody. It is not a raindrop or pinboard replacement. It's not a generic link saver. It's not going to save an archive, like an HTML archive of all these things that you have. It is an Instapaper, a Matter, a Readwise Reader alternative. So it is for people who want to read things, and everything about it is optimized about people who want to read. So that's what it's for. Also, critically, it is not VC funded. I cannot lose money on this, and that is why there is no free tier. That is why even on the paid tier, if you generate too much audio, I'm going to cut you off because it is shocking how expensive generating audio is. But I'll talk about that a bit more later. So that's what it is. It's a read later service. It's made by one guy doing his best. He's in the Midwest. If you don't like these California people, sorry, Chris. This is the middle America read later service.
I bet that like literally a stray bullet just came from Chicago through the middle of America, pierced the mountains and hit me.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know it was going to happen until it happened. I'm sorry.
Ow. Not all California people are bad. I mean, most of us are annoying, yes, and I am including myself in that bucket, but not all people from California are bad.
That's what they say. Then you say flyover country, and I get irate.
I get it, though.
So this was a hard project because it was actually a lot of different things that I had to do, things that I had never done before. So this is the core of this product is an API. As far as I'm aware, it's the only read later service that has just like a public API that anybody can build on. Like you can't do that with the other guys, as far as I know. They really want you to use their own apps, which means anyone could do the things that I've done, except for the sign up and like that sort of thing. But like, if you want to build your own iOS app or an Android app, which I probably will never make, you can do it. But I had to make to make people happy and to make it seem reasonable. Outside of the API, there's a web app, there's a web interface, there's an iOS app currently in TestFlight, open TestFlight, by the way. So once you sign up, anyone can use it. There's a Chrome extension, there's a Safari for Mac extension, there's a Firefox extension, there is an Obsidian plugin for syncing your highlights. It's a lot. Also, if you thought app review on the App Store was slow, you should try the Obsidian review because it has been in review since early February and is still not approved. It's crazy.
Why?
It's a small team. I don't know who to poke if I should poke someone at this point, but
well,
yeah.
I know the CEO of Obsidian is pretty active on Mastodon. You could probably poke him.
He is. And I'm actually using his Defuddle library to do some of the article parsing. So
There you
anyway,
go. Be
that's
like,
that's
hey, I like
synergy.
this thing.
That's big business boy Birchler figuring out the synergy right there.
Yeah. I'm loving this. I'm loving this for you. I'm really hoping this blows up and you can make this a serious, like, not that it's not serious, but like you can either go all in on this as like your big development project, because the world needs a really good read it later app, because they all start off good, but then they don't finish well.
So enjoy mine before it gets cluttered with all the things. And
Maybe soon you will be asking for like interviews with people before they sign up.
Ooh, yeah. You should go full superhuman.
Yeah.
Why was I able to just sign up and give you money, Matt? Why didn't I have to do a 30-minute call with you?
You do so many calls with me all the time. I cannot stop talking to Chris Lawley.
That's true. You're welcome.
So let's talk about a few things that I think are interesting. I am super proud of the authentication in this app. And why is it an exciting thing? It's because I have done the thing that passkey enthusiasts say should be happening, but as far as I can tell, nobody does, which is that all the benefits of passkeys are from getting the password out of the process. But in every service I have a username or email, I have a password, and I have a passkey. Quick Reads does not have any passwords. I'm not storing any passwords ever. I never will. I hate them. We do magic email links. You can keep doing those if you want, but if you are a fancy gentleman or lady, you can set up a passkey. It's super simple. It works. It was actually surprisingly easy to integrate into it as well, and it just kind of works. So you should set up a passkey. Ooh, that's a metric I could track. Anyway, we'll get to metrics later. I love data. So that's great. So passkeys, it's wonderful. Listening to articles. This is something I do all the time. I will walk the dog or I'll go on a run and I'll not want to listen to a podcast. I'll want to listen to an article. So I just start playing an article, throw my phone in my pocket, and it's cool. So I knew I had to have that. This was the hardest thing of anything I had to do in this project. It is so hard and expensive. So I initially was like, I'm going to have the best voices you've ever heard. I'm going to 11 Labs. I'm signing up for a developer account with them, and I'm going to be generating articles. It was like 50 cents per article that I generated.
Jeez.
And I was like,
you get somebody like Federico on there, and that thing's going to bankrupt you.
Yeah, I was like, no, this is, at first I was like, oh, this is why all the other services are $10 a month or more. And then I was like, oh, that's why they're also probably losing horrible money on people like me who do a lot of this. So I'm not using 11 Labs. I'm using a company called Async, which I'd never heard of before, but they have a pretty good text-to-speech model that I've integrated to. It's much more affordable, but it's very complicated because you have to send them the text, and then you have to, they have a way to do it where you get like timestamps along with the audio. So I can know where in the article you are, so I can highlight the word that they're saying as you go. And I can auto scroll the page in the web interface and on the iOS app as it goes. So you can just kind of like watch it follow along. A lot of the other apps do that. That was hard to do. It is quite hard to do. Also, if you send them a 10,000 word article, that's going to take a while to process. And so you're just kind of sitting there waiting for it to start and just waiting and waiting. And that was not good. So I was like, okay, what do we do? So we started chunking the articles into like little blocks of text. And so that 10,000 word article is like 100 API calls. And you just do one. As soon as the first one is there, you start playing it. Then you make the second request. And in theory, their network and everything is going to outpace how quickly it's reading back to you. But then you have to stitch them together. You have to make it play smoothly so they don't notice. It is a whole thing. And then you have to store those files somewhere. So I have an S3 bucket that I'm using. It's a whole thing. This is why it took, this project would have taken half the time if I didn't do text to speech. It is so much. But I'm so glad it's there.
So I've never been a big like text to speech person when it comes to articles. Like I'd rather just sit down and read them. But I'm gonna give this a shot. I signed up for the basic tier, but I'm gonna give this the old college try, and I'll switch my subscription and figure out do that later. But yeah, because like my issue with all the text to speech stuff in the past, and I think this is why I've never really used them, is they always sounded too robotic. But now we're in this age of they sound very normal. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
I will say there's only one voice right now. Multiple voices will come. I cannot tell you how hard it was to get this out the door. So one voice right now.
For $10,000, I'll record my voice for you.
You know what I was thinking? I was thinking because with 11 Labs they have a voice clone feature, and so I was like, I wonder if I could upload it a bunch of this audio, and then if you use quick reads, the voice is me.
Oh no! Oh my god.
So that's listening to articles. I want to talk about paywalled content because this is a tricky one. How do you handle paywalled stuff? So you have a subscription to MacStories as a random example of something everybody should be subscribed to. And you get the email at the end of the week, and the article at the end of the week, and it's got all this stuff, but you have to log in to see it. How do you do that with a read later service? If you save just a random link in the web interface or in the iOS app, you just like hit add link, paste in the link, it's not going to work. It's not going to show you the content because you're not logged in. My server isn't logged in. However, if you're on the page, you're logged in, all the content is there. If you're using the browser extension or on iOS, the just share sheet thing, it will grab all the content and save the whole page for you. So if you're logged in, you can save paywalled stuff. If you're not logged in, this is not a way to circumvent the paywalls. This is the thing you can sometimes do with some of the other services, because I think they cache and share the content of URLs between users. So if someone saves an article and someone else comes by later and saves the same link, instead of them pulling the info again, they just say, oh, we already have this article. Here's the text. Give it to this user. So,
okay.
Yeah. So some people like that because it gets around paywalls, but I didn't think that was what this should do. So I tried to make sure that if you subscribe to stuff, it's easy to save it. But if you are not and are looking for some weird workaround, it ain't going to do that for you. I'm so sorry. I'm not sorry, but I'm just saying I'm sorry. I also did special stuff for social media. So if you just use Defuddle on, which is the HTML parser that I'm using, I also fall back to readability if for whatever reason the service blocks Defuddle. If you do that, the social links don't look great. However, Mastodon has an API, Blue Sky has an API, and there are libraries out there that let you parse threads posts. So what I've done is a special thing for those is if you pass in one of those, it will parse it correctly. It'll put like the user's favicon in the
that's nice.
user's avatar in the favicon thing. So social media posts should play nicely.
I appreciate that. Because we're getting very close to WWDC and this season, where I will end up saving a ton of posts of like, hey, I found this really weird thing that Apple didn't show off in the keynote. So I save all of those so I can reference them back. So I appreciate that.
Nice. I'll go quickly. Payments are a thing. I have to link payment IDs in my payment system to my system, link them up. I need to like check when you open the service, like, is it still active? Did they cancel their payment? Are they? That's a whole thing. Actually, I do appreciate this is one of the things you get with the App Store. You just ask the system, and it's like, yeah, they're subscribed. It's fine. There's a little more work when you're doing it on your own. I am using the app Brrr, BRRR, which is a app for it's basically just it's a webhook basically that just you send requests to it and it sends you a push notification on your phone. it's cool. It's nice. So I currently have that set up to buzz me every time someone signs up because it's very fun.
Oh, I hope. Well, I hope for your sake. At one point, you're like, I need to turn this off, and I
Yes.
mean that in the best possible way.
Yes. It's too much, but it's fun. So I'm using that, and then there's a whole email system. I'm going to stop in a second, but there's like I need to send emails, so I needed to use a service for that. I use Resend, which is a nice platform for that. Actually, when I woke up this morning, I had to upgrade that service because I was on the free tier and I was about to run into limits, so I suddenly have to pay for that, which is good news, bad news. But yeah, Resend, really nice. I actually have that configured now to send me like a daily report of like, here's how many people signed up, here's how many articles were saved, and that sort of thing. And the final thing I had to do was I had to build an admin portal for myself. This is a thing I didn't really think about until late in the process, where I was like, how do I know what users I have? And what if they have an issue? And how do I know when they subscribed and what they've done? And oh lordy, how do I do any of this? So now I have
You export the database, of course.
Oh God. I now have this. It's called Backstage, and it's basically just an admin portal that lets me see some basic stats. I'm not really looking at what people are saving, although the closest thing I guess I have to that is I did create a little table of the top domains people are saving, just to get an idea for what sort of articles people are saving to the service. I'm not looking at the exact URLs, but the domains are interesting. You'll be shocked to hear it is a lot of tech and Apple stuff. MacStories is number
What?
4 on the list,
Whoa, okay.
and The Verge is number 1.
Not number one. Huh. Interesting.
MacStories gang, get to it. There's a revenue thing where I can see a breakdown of who's subscribed to what. I have a user list where I can see users. I have an announcement system, so I can send announcements to the interface, like I'm Carrot Weather. Pretty happy about that. And some error logging. So it was a lot, but I'm very happy I just released the stupid thing. And by stupid thing, I mean great thing.
Yeah, I've been playing around with it, and I really like it. I have 2 feature requests for you.
Oh no. Is it a clipboard manager? Because I cannot.
No.
Cannot.
Well, yes, a clipboard manager and Hush. Please put Hush in this app, inside this app. No, first one is, so you have the ability to do tags, but I don't see a way to like filter the tags. So if I had a bunch of stuff tagged newsletters or MacStories or something like that, I don't see a way to filter just those tags.
Okay.
And that would be nice.
Okay.
And then
let me address that one
Okay.
first, just so our listeners can keep up. I hate tags. I do not use tags, but people seem to love tags. So this is also a late addition. You can tag articles. There's actually, if you go into settings, go into tags, you can actually set up rules to automatically tag domains. So if you save,
I saw that.
Yep. So you can automatically set tags if you want. I could probably add more logic there. But on the search page, you can click on your tags there, and it'll show you those. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see.
It's something.
So maybe it is something. Maybe the ability to like have like a drop down lit, like just like another on that sidebar, have like another section that just says tags, and you can like turn it on or off or something.
Yeah, that could work.
I do see a bug where I tagged something. So before you were talking about like this isn't used for a bookmarking app. I went ahead and tried it as a bookmarking app and saved an app from the App Store to it and tagged it app, but I deleted it, but that app tag is still there. So even though there's nothing tagged with app, so maybe a way to delete older tags or remove them if there's nothing associated with that tag anymore.
Yep, that's good feedback from someone who uses tags. So that makes sense.
And then the other thing, and you probably won't want to do this because it'll be a whole thing, but one thing that I love is the ability to give like newsletters an email address and have it auto add that newsletter into a read it later service, so I don't have to manually add it.
He's loving the feedback.
John Voorhees gave this exact same feedback during the beta. I agree. This is a thing people do who are not me. This is a thing I would have to figure out how to do. but
Yes.
I appreciate the feedback and have put it in the backlog.
Okay. All right. Okay. Those are my two things. Expect more text messages from me now that I've been able to sit down and start playing with it. I've been a bad friend and I haven't been able to play with it until now.
That's okay. That's okay.
But other than that, I really love it.
I understand Matt's concern about dealing with more email stuff.
I get it. Yeah. Like I get now I wouldn't want to do it either, but I also know like I want that feature. So
Yeah. Ooh. Well, I just paid for more email stuff, so maybe resend has a thing I can do. We'll see.
maybe. Yeah. But it's a handy feature. Like that's something I miss because I've stopped using whatever RSS service I was using. I stopped using that. Feedbin. Was it? Yeah, it was Feedbin. Because they give you an email address that you can use for newsletters, and it automatically imports that stuff. So I've gone back to having newsletters go to my inbox, and I don't like that.
Nice. Well, that's it. It's quick reads.
I will say, so I have not signed up because obviously I'm me. I will not be using this.
A system? No.
At least she's honest.
Yes, I will forget about it as soon as it slips my mind, which is immediately. So yeah, but looking at it, it looks really nice. I think you're a very good app designer, and it shows, especially when you're doing web stuff.
Honestly,
it looks very pretty.
Thank you. I am so much more confident designing things on the web than I am on iOS.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I guess I've been doing it for like 20 years, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
and I like that your buttons look like buttons. I think this is a trend that we should bring back. Buttons.
Oh, I'm
should
so
look like
happy
buttons.
with my buttons. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. It's really good. And I like that it's not, and I mean this in the best possible way, because Read It Later services always start off simple and then they get overly complex with like, I just became your podcasting app and all these other things. And it's like, no, it's just a place for me to put things I want to read later. And I love that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Niléane, I heard you had a big life event.
Yes, I'm in the future now.
Whoa. Are Matt and I in the past then?
I don't know. Maybe you were already in the future. And I joined you in the future.
Okay.
Yeah. Although Chris is using an iPad, so he's in the past, but
I am currently not using an iPad right now. I'm sitting at a MacBook Pro. My iPad is behind me. If you're watching the video, I'm pointing at the iPad. It's off, so it just looks like a black slab.
Okay. So yes, I got a new Mac. Yeah. This is my first one in 4 years, like my first new Mac in 4 years. I got, is it 4? I had the M2 MacBook Air, and that was out in 2022. I think I bought it a few months after it was out. So, yeah, about 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Some days I felt like that Mac was still brand new. But yeah, time passes.
Fun fact about that MacBook Air. I was at the WWDC where it launched, and there was a hands-on area afterwards in the Steve Jobs Theater. So we all walked over to the Steve Jobs Theater, and then all of a sudden, the old school media people started lining up to the side of like the hands-on where these MacBook Airs were set up, like this floating display. And I walked past them, and all these old school media people start yelling at me, like just get out of the way, get out of the way. I'm like, what the hell? Like, I'm just walking over here, like whatever. Turns out Tim Cook was walking in behind me.
Okay.
They were trying to get a shot of him.
And Chris is just there.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep.
I was expecting something related to the MacBook Air, but no.
Nope.
Just
Tim Cook was walking behind me. Timmy
Speaking
C.
of which, bye-bye. Anyway, so I was saying, I've got a new MacBook. I've been like working around my storage issues. And it was all right, but it's tiring, and also I did not have the budget to upgrade. Tiny Start has helped immensely fund a new Mac, so that's great. This is like
Fantastic.
money in my bank account that was not expected to be there, so all bonus. Um, so yeah, I told you in our group chat I got the base M5 MacBook Pro. And it's great. I think it's so first thing, it's chunky.
Mm-hmm.
It's got ports that I will never need, but okay. um, for real, I only noticed like that when I got home. Like I had completely forgotten that was a feature, the HDMI port. When I looked on the side, I was like,
Oh yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
there.
And an SD card reader too.
And then an SD card, like I will, this will like be plugged with dust at some point because I will just never insert anything into that. Yeah, and I got so the base model has 1 TB already, so this is like major upgrade in terms of local storage.
Because you were
And
talking about getting like 512 gig one in the past. I don't even know if this was on the show or if in our group chat. You're just like
yeah,
maybe a 512 gig MacBook Air or something like that. But
yeah,
like a 1 TB, that's 4 times the storage. That's math. That's how math works.
and yeah. By the way, Tiny Start can calculate that. Let me do
Oh,
256 times
RFK
4.
Jr. could probably use that.
124. Yeah, I think that maths out. Yes.
Nice.
Uh, yeah, I did upgrade one thing on that base model is that is the storage, the RAM. Sorry, I got 24 gigs of RAM because I was coming from 16. And my MacBook Air, I was making it swap all the time, and that was causing my distress lately because not only was my Mac swapping all the time, which is fine because like the M chips deal with that just fine,
Mhm.
but also I was out of storage all the time.
Y-
So
Which
there's
doesn't
nothing
help
to
with
swap
swap.
into. And macOS would be like, hey, I will stop doing anything for a little while. Just hang on. Yeah. I think I told this Chris off air at some point. Like, recently, I was on my M2 MacBook Air. I was doing something, I don't remember. And macOS just locked up. Like, it stopped responding
Oh
to
yeah, yeah.
anything. Like, no mouse movement. There was mouse movement. Like, it was just moving every 2 seconds or something on screen, and no keyboard, no nothing. And that was frightening because I tried to force power it off by holding the Touch ID button. Did not work, and I had no idea that could be possible. It's a bit
That's not a good
worrying.
feeling. Yeah.
No,
That's yeah.
I thought like
Cause like
this is a hardware thing. It will just power it off no matter what's happening, but it did not power off. That I think that's worrying in terms of what does this button do actually? Or how is it wired inside?
yeah, it's not a physical kill switch. It's
Yeah.
probably hey, this button
There's
has been
there's low level software there, but it's still software.
yeah.
Yes, and looks like that software was like also choking on itself just like the rest. So yeah, this
now,
drove the decision to upgrade.
now, Niléane, my
Yeah.
comments and social media mentions have been filled with people since my MacBook Neo review, where I criticized 8 GB of RAM, saying that Macs never run out of RAM. They don't have issues. There's no reason to need more
Yeah.
RAM. And you're telling me that there's actually issues with when you run out of RAM and have low storage?
Oh
This
yeah.
is shocking. Okay. I'm
Yeah,
just going to file
that's
that
true.
away.
Like I
almost
said, it's fine as long as you have storage to swap into. And if you run out of that,
It's game over. That's right.
it's hard. It's hard
Yeah.
to unlock macOS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so so it's the base M5, 24
Yeah,
gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte of storage. That's a good
Mo-
machine.
but most important question: what color?
silver.
Ooh,
Silver. Ooh, okay,
So
okay.
my M2 Air was midnight.
I love
I
that
really
color.
like that. But like when do I change? When do I update my Mac? Like twice a decade at this rate, twice or thrice a decade. So this is my one opportunity to like change it, and there's only one other option
yep.
with the
Yeah.
Pro model.
See,
As
what you don't understand is the more you give Apple, the less fun options you get. See, if you go with the MacBook Neo, you get a lot of fun options
Yeah.
and you don't have to give Apple that much money. MacBook Air, you get a little more options, though that sky blue, I had a review unit of that sky blue. It is not blue in any context whatsoever. And
Mm.
then you go MacBook Pro, and I have the space gray MacBook Pro, and it's fine. But
yeah,
yeah,
the my belief is when it comes to Macs, the correct color to get is whatever is not the color you had last time. And I felt
Yeah.
this when I went from the M2 to the M4 for my MacBook Pro. I got the same silver, and I kind of opened it up, and I was like, I can't really tell the difference.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
it
wish
feels
it felt
bad.
more new. Yeah,
It feels bad because you just spend 2 grand and you're like,
this is
is
exactly
it
the
the
same.
same thing?
Yeah. Uh-oh.
did did you get? And maybe I don't know if I think this is an option on the base one. Did you
Mhm.
get the nano texture display or the standard display?
Oh, so interesting thing. So when I was looking for this Mac, um, I was evaluating multiple options. One option I was evaluating was getting an M4 Pro, like refurbished or secondhand or something. Finding a deal
Mhm.
of that. It's impossible to find actually. It's a
Yeah.
rare breed. If you find it, it's extremely expensive, which doesn't make sense because like you're almost at the price of the new M5 Pro. So like, what are you doing? Like you're asking in your head, you're asking the seller that isn't in front of you, what are you doing? What are you expecting selling it at this price?
Listen, I get it. As an M4 Pro owner, this thing's unbeatable. No one's computer is better than mine. This is great. I have no desire to upgrade to the M5, M4 Pro for life.
Yeah.
As an M4 Max owner, my computer's better.
Oh, stop
Oh
it.
my god. Oh my god. I did at some point find an M2 Max deal,
Ooh,
and looking at benchmarks and whatnot, this is like a monstrosity still in 2026. So I could have maybe gone for that, but also there was the issue with the battery wasn't brand new. It was
Ooh, yeah.
so yeah. Anyway,
I think when it comes to laptops, if you're not gonna go through the Apple refurbish program, which they replace all that, like they put a new battery and
yeah.
stuff in it. If you're not gonna do it, just buy a new one because that having a new battery, because you don't know what somebody's done with that battery. Like,
Yeah.
is it a device that was always plugged in? Like, I know macOS
Or
does some stuff, but um,
or if you buy secondhand, just ask the seller what's the battery cycle count.
yeah.
And it looks like most people are doing that now, by the way.
Oh,
They
really?
put it, at least in France, like all of the listings I was looking at, they just put in the listing. They have a screenshot or even a photo of the photo of the MacBook screen showing the battery count because people can't take screenshots anymore.
Or
Um,
they think they're gonna fake the screenshot,
yeah, yeah,
like
maybe
oh, maybe.
yeah,
Although you could
I
put
guess.
anyway, you could fake it. Then there's a. This is not important. There's a guy. There's someone that I deal with at work that doesn't know how to take a screenshot, and so he uses his
oh
phone to take
no.
screenshots. But he stands like 3 feet away from his laptop, takes the photo, and then sends it to me in Slack, and is like. And so I'm feeling like Niléane, pinching to zooming and enhancing to see
Enhance.
the action ID that I'm looking for, and it's crazy.
Computer
Some people are wild.
enhance. Yes.
Command Shift 4 and Command Shift 3 people. That's it. That's
But
all.
to answer your question, Chris, so I was also looking obviously at the Apple refurbished store, and on
Mm-hmm.
there, some very interesting deals. The M5, the base model M5, was on there in the French Apple refurbished store.
Already? Wow.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. Of course, they come and go. One of them was the base model M5, 16 gigs of RAM, 2 terabyte of storage, and nano textured display. So that was very tempting because it was like at the same price of the one I got in the end. But except the one I got in the end has 24 gigs, but only a single terabyte and no nano texture. And then I concluded I really don't care about the nano texture. But it was
Yeah.
tempting at like this. It's weird because like there's this very specific configuration on the Apple Store that's just very tempting with the nano texture.
Somebody bought that and then because that's a custom order one right there. Like that's yeah. I have nano texture on mine and I like it for when like at WWDC it was really nice because we were all sitting outside and I was editing our episode of Comfort Zone and you know the sun hits it and that's nice, but like where I sit on our couch, our sliding glass door to our backyard is right behind me, and if I'm working in that spot with the MacBook Neo, I'm like trying to like angle it just right. Working there with my MacBook Pro or my iPad Pro, I'm like, yeah, no problem. Nano texture thing, or on my iPad Pro, I have the paper likes, I have the matte screen protector, and I'm like, this is no big deal. So it is nice if you have those specific use cases.
Yeah, I guess. But like facing the truth is I'm an indoor person. I rarely go out, and when I go out, when I use my laptop outside, it's either on the train for a few hours at a time for a long trip, or like someplace else that's not my place, but it's always indoor. So it was tempting, but it's really not useful to me. But yeah,
Have you noticed the difference between the thermals of your M2 MacBook Air and M5 MacBook Pro? Because while they have the same, they have the base chip in both of them. The MacBook Pro obviously has fans, whereas the MacBook Air didn't.
I feel like I do notice a very noticeable difference. Like I keep my MacBook plugged in all day to the dock, to the Thunderbolt dock, and do all sorts of things, and rarely turn it off, only at night. And I can tell that after a few hours, things are still fine. Whereas on the M2 Air, I could tell that it had been throttling down, especially if I've been using it for a few hours with plugged in with the big display and the dock. I feel like I'm noticing this, but it's not something major for now. Something I've noticed just today is Xcode. It builds my app like this. It's this is made. I did not expect or wanted. Like I did not even want some performance improvement with Xcode. Like it was just fine. And I'm building a small app. This is tiny start. It's tiny, and yet on the M5, I'm noticing like really. I click the play button to run a debug build. It's instantaneous. Like it just runs as soon as I hit. Maybe like there's 1 second when I make a change, I rebuild. So yeah, that's a big improvement in terms of performance, and I'm noticing.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, and otherwise, I wanted to touch on one last thing. I did the Mac migration thing process, and this is my first time doing that. Actually, I've never done this before. And the way I did this, not expecting it to be a thing, but I thought, hey, it's probably a thing, is I grabbed a Thunderbolt 4 cable and connected the two MacBooks together on the Thunderbolt ports. And yeah, when you start the migration assistant on the new Mac as well as on the old Mac, it says connection type Thunderbolt. And you click start. First, the new Mac had to download a new version of macOS, so it rebooted a few times for that. But then I clicked start to start the migration, and it took 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes at most. I don't remember, but felt
Oh,
very
wow.
quick. Like went out of the room, grabbed a drink, expecting that I would play the Switch in the living room for a while, and then come back I don't know, 40 minutes later. But no, I came back with my drink, and it was done transferring.
That's
That's
awesome.
crazy.
That was extremely fast. It looks like it's using the full speed of Thunderbolt there. um, and yeah, just a few my experience with this is it's very impressive. Like I turned on my new MacBook Pro, and it was underwhelming almost because everything was just there. Just like when we're storing a time machine snapshot. Like it's just everything is there. There's the one thing I noticed is I opened Fantastical and I had to re-logging all my calendar accounts in there. Ivory,
Fantastical is the worst about
yeah, it's
migration
not
stuff.
great
You
about
always
this.
have to sign back in to everything.
Ivory, I had to log back in with my Mastodon accounts, but that's okay because it did not purge the cache or anything. So it just tells you, hey, you need to log in again. You click login and it's done. Vivaldi, virtually the same. Like all of my weird configs, extensions, user scripts. I made Chrome extensions for myself, by the way, for my Vivaldi setup. Maybe I will talk about these more someday. But they're all there. Like just Xcode, all of this. I was worried maybe about the developer ID certificates and all of that. No, it's all there. So yeah, it's great.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, this reminds me of back in the day, like 10 years ago. I dabbled in iOS development, and the developer certificate in Xcode was an absolute nightmare to deal with when you switched computers. You had to like go to App Store Connect and download a new file, and it was a whole thing. Now you just like select your name from a drop down. It's great.
Yeah. I did not even have to do that. Like it's just,
Ah, you didn't even have to do the drop down.
no, it's just I
You're in the
opened
future.
Xcode and it's just like it was the day before on my M2 Air. So
That's great.
yeah,
Why can't iPhones do that? Why is it still
I
like
know.
an hour, even like cabled up? Like, do you guys have luck with iPhone transfers when you do a cable to cable transfer? I feel like it ignores the cable 2/3 of the time.
I've never done cable transfer. for the iPhone.
I did it when I went from the 16 Pro to the 17 Pro. I did it, and it failed, and I had to go back to the device-to-device wireless transfer, which takes forever, but
Okay.
yeah.
Well, anyway, I'm glad this computer is working out, and it is those little things like
Yeah.
where like the Xcode builds that are just like, oh, that's like not no weight at all. That's great.
Yeah. And just having so many tabs open, and I don't know. I think that's just the single core performance of the M5 in the improvement is just things open just a tad quicker compared to the M2. Just the small little things, yes. But yeah, I'm in the future now. And here in the future, Trump is still president. Sorry to say.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We need to go further
now
in
I'm
the future.
depressed. Yep.
Can't be forever.
And so is
Ugh.
Macron, unfortunately.
Well, we should get to the challenge, and appropriately. And when I issued the challenge, I did not know Niléane was laptop. Like I found out a couple.
Yeah, this is the second time you've issued a challenge that seems innocuous, and then Niléane comes back and is like, "I have a whole new computer." This happened with the iPhone as well last year. It was something about like doing something with your music, and you were like, "I needed a terabyte of storage on my iPhone. What was I to do?"
What was I saying? I get it. I totally get it. You need it for your work. But the challenge was to use your laptop in laptop mode. No plugging into an external monitor. And you just had to use it for a day. And I was kind of curious if this would change any of our setups or settings or apps or anything that we used. Apparently, it changed everything for Niléane. I'm taking full credit for this. For me, it actually surprisingly didn't change much. I just sat on the couch for a day and worked from my laptop. The battery life on the MacBook Pro is insane. I never had to plug in at all. The screen, because I have the 16-inch model, the screen is big, beautiful, bright, mini LED. Like, it's nice. The the one thing I found that was kind of getting annoying after a couple of hours, the edges of the MacBook Pro when typing on it, they're kind of sharp.
Yes.
They're kind of sharp. They're a little iPhone 12y. They're little iPhone 12.
And you
iPhone
know what?
13.
They're sharper than the Air.
Are they really?
I think so. I have nothing to prove it, but it feels like it. I think maybe because it's taller and
Maybe.
yeah.
But like I felt like after a couple of hours I was like, oh man, that really feels like it's kind of not digging in, but just a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I know the MacBook Pro is supposed to get redesigned here soon. I wonder if they'll kind of edges a little bit.
Oh, by the way, speaking of like the tallness of the MacBook Pro, I've noticed that if you put the M2 Air closed next to the MacBook Pro open, the 14-inch one at least, there the bottom part of the MacBook Pro is exactly to the millimeter the same height as the MacBook Air closed. And it feels very satisfying because you can pass your finger over the two of them, and it's like there's almost no limit. Like,
which goes to show the MacBook Pro really isn't that thick, because if the only difference is the screen is very thin.
Yes, so the difference in height from the M2 Air and the MacBook the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro is the height of the screen.
Yeah, which isn't very much at all. Like it's
all right.
very thin. So, Niléane, I'm kind of curious. You talked about the MacBook Pro, but you didn't really talk about the display going from the MacBook Air to the MacBook Pro. I was kind of curious. Like, did you notice a big difference there? Like, how was this challenge for you?
So I did this yesterday, and it was only my second day using this new laptop. So, yeah. One thing I did, I watched Jetlag on this new MacBook Pro, and yes, the screen is extremely good, very nice. You notice the contrast, especially. The improved contrast is what jumps at me. It feels weird because the colors are so very different compared to my main big screen on my desk. But when you're using it on its own, it's great. ProMotion is very nice. It's actually very nice. I do stand by my previous takes about it, is that I care more about ProMotion on my phone than I ever will on a big display or on a laptop display. I just don't care that much about it. It's not that big of a jump compared to when you're using it on the phone.
I agree with you. I think it's much more noticeable on smaller devices.
Yeah.
But I will say 240 hertz external monitor, it's very noticeable, especially when you go from the MacBook Neo, which is locked at 60 hertz.
Yeah.
And you're like using that, and then all of a sudden you plug your MacBook Pro into 240 hertz, and you're like, oh, this is smooth. Very smooth.
I'm guessing on a very big screen, it makes a difference. On a 30-inch, 27-inch, yeah. So yeah, it was great using it in laptop mode. It made me try for real, what it would feel like in terms of the weight difference compared to the Air. And it's all right. I think it's okay. I do feel it's way heavier, but it's okay. What else? Yeah, that's it. Summing up, I'm just in the future in terms of display as well now. It's not that big of a jump, in terms of first impressions, but it is very good and it feels very good. I was not expecting it to be this sharp as well. It's something I did not expect. It does look very sharp compared to the MacBook Air's display.
Yeah, the contrast ratio, especially when you're using if you use dark mode and have really black stuff, the screen is very very noticeable. I have a wallpaper right now from the Artemis 2 mission, and it's just the moon and it's the moon, and then the Earth is in the background, and then it's just black all the way around it,
Yeah.
and it is very like it's gorgeous.
I need to try looking at some black stuff. To look at the black levels. Yeah, this reminds me of when I had the M1 iPad Pro as my main computer. This had the mini LED as well,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that was an amazing screen.
Nice. Matt, how'd you do with this challenge?
So I did this yesterday as well, and I worked from my couch. So like workday from the couch, not like fun work, just like day job work. And I didn't enjoy it.
Oh,
I mean, it was fine. I do actually like sometimes stepping away from the big monitor if I need to like focus on something, because there's just like so much stuff here that I can do. I
Mhm.
just bounce around a lot. I guess is what iPad people say. But on the smaller screen, it's easier for me to just kind of like go through my email and focus on that or whatever, in a way that I just don't do as effectively on the big screen. So that's nice, but it's just a pain. I do video calls all day, so need to find a way to light myself that doesn't have like my entire home in the background. And the place I would like to work, which is on the couch, has a window behind me, so I'm just like, it's the worst possible lighting for a video call, and I can't have that because I roll into meetings with this setup, and it's like, whoa, look at the guy with the big mic, and everything is great, and he sounds good, and all that, and then I'm like calling in like just a monster, like a gremlin from from the couch. So
but most people do that.
those people do that, and I get it. It's fine. But so it was okay. It was okay, but I wouldn't do it all the time. I think maybe an hour a day would be actually a nice thing for me to do to focus, but a whole work day from the couch is not for me.
See, I will typically, like, if I really need to focus on writing, especially writing. Editing, I obviously I like having a big monitor, but if I really need to focus on writing or doing email or something like that, that's when I will go sit on the couch, just have a laptop or an iPad or whatever, and just bust out a bunch of stuff because it is much more focused, because it is a smaller display. But yeah, sorry, Matt.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm on my personal computer now. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 windows I can see some content from. So there's a lot that could distract me.
See, right now I only have 2. I have Notion and Edge for our call for Riverside, and that's so I don't distract myself, because I if there was anything else open, I'd be distracting myself right now.
You don't want to know what my screen looks like right now.
But what I do want to know is what your challenge is for next week.
Ooh, yes. I had a fun idea. Okay, so the challenge is imitate one of your 2 co-hosts with your tech setup.
Oh,
I don't know if that's clear. Like, pick one of the other 2. So in my case, I will pick either Matt or Chris. Choose one of their quirks in regard to their setup and try to imitate that for next week. Perhaps let's bring something visual, maybe a screenshot or something. I don't know. Yeah.
I already know.
A photo of your setup. I don't know. It could be anything. So it could be hardware, software, whatever. And we, the other 2, try to guess which co-host you tried to imitate.
Okay. I like this. Now, remember, I won't be here next week.
Oh, that's right.
But what we do is, when you guys get to this, text me, and I will have an image ready to go. And I'll be driving to pick up the puppy, so I'll have Danielle send it. But text me, like, give me like a 5-minute heads up, like when you guys transition to the challenge, and I will have a photo ready to go. And we can put it in the submission. You guys can try and guess, and we can follow up in 2 weeks on episode 100.
Okay. Maybe you can tell us which one it is in Invisible Ink or something.
Yeah, or you can just text after you guys guess. You can text and I'll have Danielle
Yeah.
respond.
Okay.
Because I'll be driving, so I won't be able to send it. But yeah.
Okay.
All right, I like this. This is a fun one. I'm
Yeah.
bummed I'm not going to be here for it because that's hilarious. All right. So this brings us to the end of the show, and I have an end of the show question for the two of you, and it's a pretty simple, straightforward one. Space or dinosaurs?
This does not make sense.
Space or dinosaurs? It makes absolute sense.
No.
Space or dinosaurs?
They go together, history.
Tragically.
Oh, dinosaurs are from space.
Tragic history. Yes.
Dinosaurs are from space.
Space or
are from
dinosaurs?
space.
Yeah, space or dinosaurs?
Space.
I'm going to say space for me, too.
Basically, you're asking future or past?
No, I'm asking, are you a space nerd or a dinosaur nerd?
Okay.
I guess space. I mean, they're both
Space.
great.
Yeah, like, look, I've been, so, when I was a kid, I was in the Boy Scouts, and one of the cool things was when we were living in Texas, we actually got to spend the night in Houston at NASA, and that was pretty cool because we got to spend the night in the museum. So like we got to see like Apollo capsule and all that stuff. So yeah, pretty cool, pretty nerdy.
Very nice.
But that's the end of the show. Thank you all so much for listening. Please send in some questions for episode 100. We would love to answer anything, whether it's follow up on a challenge, a topic, or something new. Feel free to send it in.
Yeah.
Matt, Niléane, anything you want to plug, promote?
I am in the process, so we're moving soon. So I'm in the process of reluctantly dismantling my Lego sets.
Oh.
I took down the Saturn V the other day, and I will recommend the method that I used, which is, I think, the universal one. Pick up, not a baseball bat, Matt. No, pick up the manual for the set and follow it in reverse. Start from the end and take apart in reverse so that the booklet, the manual, will instruct you to put pieces back into the numbered bags. You can recreate the numbered bags. I used IKEA fridge, like, I don't know, transparent IKEA bags.
The black bag sort of things, yeah.
And numbered one, I numbered them, and so in the end, I just have a bunch of numbered bags with all the Lego pieces, and if I want to put it back together, I just have to follow the manual normally.
So I will say, and I don't know what your moving situation is going to be, but when I moved here, we literally Danielle's car. So I had a big U-Haul truck to move my stuff, but Danielle's car was the designated Lego car. So I put things carefully in there. And then when we were also, like, when I was moving out of my condo, like, we had a few weeks, too, where she would come over to my condo, and I just put some Legos in her car, and she'd bring them back here and put them, like, so I didn't actually disassemble anything, and I only lost a couple of pieces to a couple of sets.
Oh, that's too
This
much.
part, things stayed intact. No, I'm literally mean like 2 or 3 small pieces.
It's too many pieces. No, you can't lose anything.
It's better than taking them all apart and having to rebuild them.
That's what I've chosen to do. Now, I will not dismantle everything, just the big ones.
Okay, that's smart.
The Saturn V, I still need to dismantle the Discovery shuttle. The LEM,
broke.
I have the big LEM. The lunar module. What else? The ISS is not big. It's just that big.
The ISS one is precarious.
Yes,
Danielle had that one.
It's flimsy.
It's flimsy. So the only one that really fell apart for me was the UCS X-Wing one, and that one is flimsy. That one is crazy flimsy. So I had to spend some time rebuilding that one. I do remember that was the only one. Okay, we should probably wrap up the show here, though. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you to MacStories for having us. Have a great day. Talk to you later.
Bye.